Hi, professional development students. I hope you are all doing well. I wanted to take a few moments to follow up our class meeting this past Tuesday to formally welcome you to Phase 5 of our career planning and professional development process in our FASH 219 course. So it was really great to see many of you on Tuesday. I hope that you found the presentation really helpful. I know that I did. Nonetheless, I do think we have a few things that would benefit from a little bit more in-depth overview than could be captured in an email. So I am going to review with you Phase 5, what it entails, and also what you are responsible for. Okay, so you will remember that our process in professional development is split into 5 phases. You are now at the home stretch. You have one phase left that will carry us through to the end of the semester, with the exception of maybe one outstanding assignment from Phase 3. So Phase 5 is really all about presenting your personal brand. So what message are you putting out there to the world? What is it that you have to say? What is it that you have to offer of value? Right, so those are pretty big questions to answer, but we're going to look at how to capture some of that in a couple of different ways. So primarily the channels that we will look at or the tools that we will explore for presenting your personal brand include creating a digital presence, showcasing your work, and then discussing yourself and your accomplishments. Okay, so that is website, portfolio, and interview prep. Okay, those are the primary components of this module that you'll do some work around. Okay, so I am going to quickly share my screen with you to walk you through what that looks like. So as you can see, we're looking at our Canvas course site here. There's basic module information here, module dates, module overview, a link to the video that you're watching now in case you want to view it again. We will end with this. This is a great summary, so we'll come back to it at the end. So let's get right into, since I've given you the 3 primary areas that we'll talk about in a very basic but nonetheless an overview of Phase 5. I'm just going to jump right into the assignments here so you, I can keep this video concise, but you can still know a little bit more context for each of these assignments. So the first item that you'll see on this list is an optional assignment. What this assignment is asking you to refer to 2 specific slides from the Wix presentation, which I've linked for you in the phase resources. And so I'm asking you to think about your goals for your website and then to develop a framework for your website. So what will a structure look like? For each element of that framework, you will then think about the content that would be necessary, copy, media, etc. The reason that this is optional is because at the end of Tuesday's presentation, I asked you all to go ahead and get started. So for those of you who already got started, you may be further than this assignment is. So I wouldn't want you to have to go back and do something that you really don't need to do. However, if you have not started yet, this is a great place to start because it allows you to plan from the ground up, which allows you to think intentionally about what you want your website to be about, how you want to structure it, what you want it to look like, all of these important things. The other piece that is important about this is that if you submit it by the deadline, I can give you feedback on the direction that you're going before you submit your draft, okay? So let's go out and look at that draft. The next item is, in fact, the website draft. This is pretty straightforward. I am asking you to think about your personal brand, what it's about, what's your aesthetic, what do you have to offer. Thinking about capturing these kinds of big themes in your website. How will you convey those things? What will be the mood of your and the atmosphere of your website? So review the Wix presentation that's linked here. In particular, I would like you to focus on these slides here and be sure that you've addressed the issues covered on those slides, okay? So I'm just going to highlight this here because it's important to give yourself a little time to go through that process, okay? You must include, at a minimum, an about or similar section. You can call it something else if you're inclined, or in a contact or similar. I'm not asking you to necessarily include your resume or a portfolio, and we'll talk about why, even though a portfolio is a big component of this phase. So those two things are required at a minimum, but by and large, students submit with far more sections or pages or work than those two sections, but those are the minimum requirement. So for this assignment, you'll take screenshots of the work that you've done, copy them into a Word doc, and submit. So the reason that you won't submit a URL is because I don't want you to publish your website before it's ready to be shared. So then we will shift gears to think about portfolio, okay? So I think in the context of this class and maybe beyond, maybe even as far as across the School of Fashion, I think sometimes we can use terms like e-portfolio, portfolio synonymously with personal website, and they're actually two distinct things. So, the website is your home on the web, right? It's a digital presence that you carve out for yourself, and a portfolio is a curation of samples of your best work. So they're two different things. Because Wix has the capacity to house your portfolio, it's just really convenient to have the portfolio housed within your personal website, right? It gets a little clunky to have to send, two links to people to send them your website and your portfolio a different way. So to have everything kind of under one roof makes best sense. So thinking about portfolio, you certainly at some point will absolutely want to have a portfolio featured on your website. But the thing to keep in mind is that you are, at the relative beginning of your college career, so you may not have an inventory of portfolio-ready pieces. So I don't want you to panic if that's the case. There are lots of opportunities throughout the duration of your college career to develop those pieces, and there are a lot of opportunities outside the classroom. So many of you are engaged in activities beyond any of your courses like Polished or the Fashion Show or a myriad of other things, even things in the greater Boston fashion community. And all of those types of things can lend themselves to developing a portfolio piece, right? So if you style something, if you work on a photo shoot, whatever the case may be, that is potential portfolio material, right? So from this point forward, I really want you to think about documenting the work that you do, whether it's for a course or not, and think about your output as an individual, as a professional. What types of things are you doing that could potentially be added to your portfolio, okay? So for this assignment, what I'm going to ask you to do is to just really start thinking and planning about this portfolio and what it will evolve into. So the first thing you're going to do is do some research and to look at some examples to get ideas and inspiration. Okay, so there's a lot of links here that you can look at and use, but you can certainly do your own research too. So then when you get down to the nitty-gritty here, I'm asking you to research and review portfolios. You'll select a portfolio and then analyze it. Okay, so I give you a few directives here on how to analyze it, what to think about. You're giving basically your reaction to this particular portfolio, which really shows me that you have a critical eye and it's giving you an opportunity to think about what goes into a portfolio and what makes a portfolio effective. And then starting to plan for your own portfolio, right? So you'll think about answering some of these questions right in here, and you'll submit both of those in the same document as a Word doc there. So then it will be time to wrap up your website. So this is pretty straightforward. You are submitting a link to your published website that you would consider to be final draft, ready to go, ready to share with the world. So this is really reminder content from the draft that's published in the draft assignment as well. at this point, you sort of know what's going on. This is a Dropbox for the final work. And then we move on to sharing your final work. So this is a discussion forum that will function as a way to share your work and get feedback on it. So you'll share the link to your final website in a post, and then you will review your classmates' work. I'm asking you to submit 2 substantive critiques of your peers' work. So you'll pick 2 portfolios that have been posted, and you will provide a critique. So I give you some prompts in this area, but certainly you can feel free to add additional thoughts beyond these bullet points. And you know, this is very personal to each one of you, so I just want to caution here that while I very much encourage constructive feedback, you do want to be kind in the way that you deliver it and thoughtful, that this is someone's work and someone's personal brand that you're commenting on. So you'll post links the day that your final website is due, so you'll kind of do them in tandem. So on May 3rd, and then your critiques are due 1 week later on May 10th, which is the close of the module. All right, and then the final thing that you will look at is interview preparation. Okay, so this link here is a list of commonly asked interview questions broken up into different categories. There's 4 categories. I'm asking you to choose 2 questions from each of the categories and to develop a written answer. So short of actually doing a mock interview, practicing with one another, which we may otherwise have had the opportunity to do in a classroom, writing answers, thinking about questions, reviewing commonly asked questions is a really good way to practice and prepare for interview prep. So this, I think at some point down the line, will be very useful to you. So that's what that assignment is all about. And then the final area of this phases module is here with resources. So this is just a link to the Wix website to get you started. And this is the presentation that Caitlin and Joelle used for Tuesday's guest lecture. So you can review that there. So I am going to scroll back up to the phase agenda, which essentially functions like a to-do list for you. So let's see here. This is really a great summary of what it is that you need to know for this phase in terms of what you're responsible for and when, okay? So reviewing the Wix presentation, researching websites and portfolios for ideas, inspiration, and best practices. You have an option to submit planning. If you choose to do that, it's due April 19th. You need to develop a website draft, due April 22nd. Portfolio planning is due April 26th. Now remember, this is an analysis of someone else's portfolio, one of the examples that you find in your research, as well as a plan for developing your own. Final website. So you'll continue to work on your draft, and you will work it into a final quality formal website and submit a link for it. You will also post that link on the same day to a discussion forum to be viewed by others. That date is May 3rd. Then you will critique the websites in the discussion forum. Each student will be responsible for 2 critiques, and those will be due May 10th. Finally, your interview prep is due May 10th. And that really is phase 5 in a nutshell. So I hope that all makes sense and feels relatively straightforward to you. As always, if you have any questions or concerns, please get in touch. Good luck, and good luck to you for great work on phase 5.